Welcome back, guys. I am doing another first appearance list. I really like digging into some of these Image comics, and especially anything Robert Kirkman does. So this time I'm diving into a different set of books, and I'm diving into Oblivion Song. I did Invincible, now I'm doing Oblivion Song. First, of course, you also get they had an advanced reader's copy that had like a purple line across the top, then said advanced reader's copy that some stores had. I'm not sure. It might have had more than one issue. It might have been like 3 issues or even 6. Skybound likes to do that with some of their books they're not quite sure about. They push them out with an advanced reader's copy that stores all get. And that book is a little more expensive. It'll run you $150 or so. But issue 1, and then there's this pink issue. What I mean by that is that down at the bottom, the signature, the regular cover had a green signature. The Mega Box variant had a pink signature. The green one, $10 to $15. The pink one is $25. Then you had this collector set, Oblivion Song, which came with a statue and a bunch of other stuff. Retail, that was a $200 set. The issue itself is about $150. But guys, issue 1 has a ton of first appearances in it. So if you're going to spec on Oblivion Song, pick up issue 1. There's lots of copies out there. Online, they're $10. You can probably find them in back issue bins, sometimes even for $1 to $2. But the first appearance of Nathan Cole, he's the main protagonist throughout this entire series. He appears first in this book here. You also get to meet Duncan and Bridgette Freeman. They are the sort of couple that you meet in the story who are helping Nathan out, going back and forth to Oblivion. The Crenshaws are a family he rescues in this issue from Oblivion, and they pop up throughout the first arc of the story. Lucy is you get a couple of panels of Lucy, Ed's old love interest, in the story, and then she pops back up later and becomes a very important part of the story. Heather is Nathan's girlfriend, but she also works as a part of the government and works for Director Ward. And the Director Ward's sort of that government bad guy, good guy type personality who's always worried about the bottom line and the military parts of it. Then we got issue 2. Issue 2, you get to meet a few more characters. You get to meet Marco. Marco is sort of similar to Nathan. He goes back and forth and travels back and forth to Oblivion, and Nathan's recruiting him to come back and do it again. Then you get to meet Keith. Keith is a good guy, or he's a bad guy that also has some good tendencies to him, and you slowly start to get to know a little bit about him throughout the story. But this is where you first get to meet Keith, when Nathan's trying to actually shoot him with the special darts that send him back home. Then the next issue, in issue 3, you get to meet Maria, and you also get to meet Keith. Well, you get more Keith's story, and Maria is someone lost in Oblivion or whatever. She's leading a group of people, and you get to meet her at the very end of issue 3. Then within issue 4, you get to meet Dane. Dane, when you see him, he has like a rag over his eye. That's how you define him. There are other characters that you meet, but you never really get to know their names. So they're just sort of background characters that you sort of meet in the story. Then you get to issue 5. Issue 5, you get to meet Mateo, who is Maria's son. And he becomes important later on in the story. And his first appearance here is in issue 5. So just keeping track of some of these. The first 5 issues are definitely worth tracking down, because there are first appearances throughout, actually first 6, the first arc. So in issue 6, you get to meet Benjamin, who we met Bridgette and earlier. This is Benjamin, her sort of lover, because Bridgette and Duncan are having problems, and that you sort of find that out throughout the story arc. And this is the first time Benjamin sort of pops up in the story. First appearance of the Faceless One. They're sort of the overall bad guy. And the very last panel of issue 6, Keith runs into the Faceless Ones, or the Faceless Men. And this is where you sort of meet them, or you get to see this. The mythical thing becomes reality right here with issue 6. So we keep going. Issue 7, sort of like issue 1 through 6 is the first sort of arc. Issue 7 picks up, and it does sort of a flashback scene where you get to meet the original team that sort of caused the Oblivion event to happen. And Nathan's telling the story of it, and this is sort of where you get to know the story of Oblivion, and you meet the 4 scientists that worked on it, and that's Bernard Osmond, his daughter Maria, and Leslie McKinney, and Catherine Jonas. This is the only time they show up in the story, but this is sort of the origin story, and those are always, sometimes people consider those key books to look at. And then there's a lot of stuff that happens, but no new characters pop up. But you basically, for the first 12 issues, is the story of Nathan tracking down his brother, which happens in the first arc, and then taking Ed back. Nathan gets arrested. Um, issue 7 is where Nathan is explaining how he blames himself and what happened to Director Ward and all that stuff. And then from 7 through 12 is that they're trying to figure out what's going on. So Nathan's in jail. Ed's trying to get back to his land. Nathan's girlfriend Heather breaks him out. They do all this craziness. That Ed actually sets off a new bomb that they had built and all this crazy stuff. And then issue 12 ends. It's all solved, and Nathan's taken away and put in jail. Heather's put in jail. Ed is back home. He had gotten back to Oblivion, where he considers home. And then issue 13 picks up. And not only does the new arc start, it's a time jump of 3 years. It says 3 years later. And then you get to meet a new character named Cynthia, who pops in and out a few times throughout this little 6-issue run right here. Then you go to issue 14. Ed has been in Oblivion. But not only did that, Nathan earlier had brought Lucy into Oblivion for Ed. So Ed, who was with Maria, is no longer with Maria, is now back with his old girlfriend Lucy, and they have a son named Scotty. And this is where you first meet Scotty here. Then we go, stuff happens from there on, but then finally you get to come back to the Faceless Ones, or the Faceless Men, and you actually get to know that they have names. They're not just faceless characters. They, in the process leading up to this, they've been kidnapping different humans in Oblivion and testing them and trying to figure out. But this is where you actually get to meet some of the ones, and they have names. The first one you meet is Lord Halaak. He's sort of the leader of the Faceless Men. And then you get to meet Ghozan Dakuu, who's the baddie. He doesn't believe that humans are any value. He wants to kill them. You get to meet him, and he kills them. He's just the bad guy. He is the ultimate bad guy for the first 30 issues. Stuff happens that you're trying to figure out, okay, how do we escape? The Faceless Men have captured Ed's wife, Lucy, and their son. So the entire point is trying to get over there, and the military's working. They keep jumping back and forth. Really cool story. I love it. You get to issue 25. One thing I've noticed with Kirkman books, and I need to go look at Walking Dead to see if the same thing happens. It happened in Invincible. If he makes it to issue 25, he celebrates. And he throws in extra stories and all these different things. And so issue 24 was the end of an arc. And then you get to issue 25, and it's the start of a new arc. Issue 24 ends with Nathan being trapped in Oblivion and everyone else back on Earth. And Nathan's left behind. And then issue 25 picks up. 3 years have passed. And you get to meet Nathan. Now has gone native, and he has a creature he looks like a sort of a dog horse character. He rides, and it's called Lightning. He has friends that are Faceless Men. That's Gakaal and Nanul. Then you also get a side story of Oblivion done by a different artist. I'm not even sure. It might be done by a different writer as well. And you meet this little girl named Zoe. And sort of like a flashback scene to the Oblivion, which is the same sort of thing that happened in Invincible 25. And then you get a Science Dog story and Firepower story, all within issue 25. I want issue 25 because it has all of that stuff within it. It's definitely something worth picking up, and I definitely will look into it. And guys, then you get to issue 27. It's probably the last time you actually get some first appearances. You get a first appearance of a General Harker, who Ward has gone to a different position and stepped away, and Harker is now the general or whatever. He's having to be convinced that this Oblivion is still something the Earth should be worried about. And then you also get the first appearance of Dulaam, who is a Faceless Man who actually appeared earlier on in the book. But we think he's killed. But this is where you first get his first name, and he is actually living on Earth with Heather. Guys, it runs through issue 32. They haven't finished the story. Guys, it is a fun read. If you like fantasy, if you like sort of aliens and dimensions and crisscrossing worlds, this is a book that you probably would like, and I would read through it. I didn't give it a fair shake when it came out. Man, I loved reading it. I'm digging Kirkman's style. I wish I had jumped in when you could find them all. Oblivion Song, I have certain issues. I don't have the entire run. I've piecemeal some of it together. I just did get the trade. That's what got me hooked into it. This is issues 13 through 24, hardcover graphic novel. It's great. It just came out this past week. It's definitely worth reading. It's a great story. You get the second arc, so you had to read the first arc, and then the last few issues they have a trade paperback. No, they don't have it yet. They probably will have one soon for it. But guys, once again, this is CBSI, comicbookinvest.com. This is my article. This is the video that's going to go in my article, but you can get it a little bit early when I drop this on Saturday. But this is just the first appearances of Oblivion Song, a series that you guys should be paying attention to. No rumors yet on movies or shows, but I see potential here. And why not be sitting, if you can get it for $0.25 or $1, sit on these books or pick them up and read them because they're great stories. Thanks again. See ya.